This conference will now be recorded. This conference will now be recorded.
Hello students, I'm Dr. Divya from TeenEinstein. So today we are going to start the new chapter. Chapter number 40, Ecosystem. And that we are going to learn part 1 of ecosystem. So before going to that topic, in this chapter, what and all we are going to learn, just let's see. We are going to learn about types of ecosystem, then the components of ecosystem, then structure and function of this ecosystem, then ecological pyramids. What is ecological pyramid? And nutrient cycles. Then ecological successions we are going to learn. Then ecosystem services. So overall we are going to learn about the importance of ecosystem or and components of ecosystem and each component, how it is working and what and all the importance of each component. That's what we are going to learn in this chapter. So we know that on the surface of this earth, so many or wide range of living organisms are present. So all these organisms in the sense all plants, animals, microorganisms, all these organisms, they'll interact themselves and they'll interact with the surrounding. That means the physical environment, and they'll maintain the balance of that nature. They'll interact themselves and they'll interact with the surroundings also, and that's how they are maintaining the balance of nature. So an ecosystem, we can visualize an ecosystem as a functional unit of nature where living organisms interact among themselves and also with the surrounding physical environment. So what is an ecosystem? It's a functional unit of nature. Living organisms are interacting among themselves, and that living organisms, they are interacting with the surrounding physical environment also. Okay, that is called as ecosystem. So that self-sustaining or that functional unit of that living world, that is called as ecosystem. So an ecosystem that consists of biotic and abiotic components. These abiotic and biotic components, they interact with each other, right? So ecosystem consists of interaction of biotic component. Biotic component means that living organism, and the abiotic components, that means that physiological factors like rainfall, temperature, then soil, minerals, wind, all these are abiotic components. So there is an interaction between the biotic components, that means the living organisms or living things, and the abiotic components. Abiotic components means physical factors like minerals, wind, soil, temperature, rainfall, all this. So in this chapter, what we are going to learn is the different types of ecosystem we are going to learn in this. Then structural and functional aspects, which is related to the productivity, energy flow, then ecological efficiencies and nutrient cycling. Then we are going to learn about decomposition. So all these things we are going to learn in this chapter. Okay, so ecosystem can be visualized as a functional unit of nature where living organisms interact among themselves and also with the surrounding physical environment. Okay, so ecosystem that varies, the size of that ecosystem that varies. Sometimes it will be small and it will be large. So we can see large ecosystem as well as small ecosystem. So types of ecosystem, that size also varies. That means a small pond, that also we can call as an ecosystem, and a large forest or a sea, everything we can call as an ecosystem. Then that entire biosphere, it consists of all the ecosystem on it. Whatever is there, or how many ecosystems are there on earth, everything together, all together, it is called as that biosphere. Then you know that biosphere is very, very, very big, and it is very complex one. We have already studied what is biosphere. We have an idea. So it is very complex, and we can't learn the whole aspects of that very easily. So we are dividing that broadly into two basic categories. Which are the two basic categories? Terrestrial ecosystem and aquatic ecosystem. Which are the categories? Terrestrial and aquatic ecosystem. Terrestrial ecosystem and aquatic ecosystem. Terrestrial ecosystem means terrestrial ecosystem, it is present over land. Like we can say that desert or grassland or forest, these are all examples for terrestrial ecosystem. Got it? Terrestrial ecosystem. This desert, forest, grassland, these are all the examples for terrestrial ecosystem. And another one next is aquatic ecosystem. So we have classified into or divided into two basic categories. The ecosystem is divided into two basic categories because that entire biosphere, it is called as global ecosystem. And this global ecosystem that consists of all small or all local ecosystems on that. So that system, we know that that system is very, very big and it's very complex. So we cannot study that very easily, and it is divided into two basic categories, namely the terrestrial and the aquatic ecosystem. In that terrestrial ecosystem means that is the ecosystem which occurs over land. That is called a terrestrial ecosystem. And which are all the examples for terrestrial ecosystem? Grassland, forest, desert. These are all the ecosystem which is present on land. Or these are the examples for terrestrial ecosystem. Next is aquatic ecosystem. So aquatic ecosystem, that is present in water bodies. Okay, aquatic ecosystem is present in water bodies. That is called as aquatic ecosystem. Like for fresh water, we can say lake, a river, pond, all these are freshwater aquatic ecosystem. Okay, then sea, then estuaries and all, we can say that it is saltwater aquatic ecosystem. Okay, then human interference. Based on human interference, or with respect to that human interference, we can divide this ecosystem. Again, we can divide this ecosystem into two types. Which are those? Natural ecosystem and man-made ecosystem. Natural ecosystem and man-made ecosystem, or otherwise man-made ecosystem is otherwise called as anthropogenic ecosystem. So what and all? With respect to human interference, the ecosystem are of two types, natural ecosystem and anthropogenic ecosystem. Anthropogenic ecosystem means, the other name of anthropogenic ecosystem is man-made ecosystem. Then natural ecosystem. What is the meaning of natural ecosystem, or how we can define this natural ecosystem? That got developed in nature. So there is no human support for development of that ecosystem, or there is no human interference. So that is called a natural ecosystem. Natural ecosystem means there is no human support, or there is no interference of human being. Okay, without the support of human being, it is done or it is built. So it is called as natural ecosystem. Natural ecosystem examples, you know, that marine ecosystem, then forest, all these without the help of human being, right? So it is existing without the help of human being, and there is no human support. Without that, it is, or that got developed in nature without human support or without human interference. So that is called as natural ecosystem. Forest and marine ecosystem, they are the examples for this natural ecosystem. And second type, which one we said, is anthropogenic ecosystem or man-made ecosystem. So this is the one which is created and that is maintained by human beings. Which one? Anthropogenic. Anthropogenic, that is man-made ecosystem, that is created by human beings, and it is at the same time it is maintained by human beings. Got it? So for example, we can say aquarium, crop field, all these are man-made ecosystems. And agro-ecosystem, or that agriculture, that is the largest man-made ecosystem. We know that largest man-made ecosystem is agriculture or agro-ecosystem, that is the largest man-made ecosystem. So we can tell some characters, or there are some characteristics of this anthropogenic ecosystem. Which are all they? So that will be first character, what we can say, it is a simple food chain, right? And high productivity will be there. Definitely when there is a hand of human being, what they will think? They'll think about more production or high productivity. Without that, simply they won't waste time, right? So for high productivity only, always they will try, because they need high productivity. So for that purpose only they will work. And this anthropogenic ecosystem that won't be having self-regulatory mechanism, that won't show any kind of self-regulatory mechanism, and that is a simple, it will be following a simple food chain. Then there will be little cycling of nutrients. Little cycling of nutrients will be there in that. And high productivity, we have already told, high productivity will be there. Then that shows little diversity. Okay. So what is global ecosystem? We have already told. Global ecosystem means biosphere, and it is having two categories, that is terrestrial ecosystem and aquatic ecosystem. Next, we can say about components of ecosystem. Okay, components of ecosystem. So in the previous chapter, we have learned about various environmental factors or the components of that environment, like abiotic and biotic. So now you know that the biotic and abiotic factors, they are affecting each other. At the same way, it is affecting the surroundings also. In this 14th chapter, ecosystem, in this what we are going to learn is how energy flow is taking place in between these components, or in between the components of ecosystem, how energy flow is happening. So you know, it's very clear that the interaction of this biotic and abiotic components, that will result in a physical structure, and that gives the characteristic features of each ecosystem. Got it? So that different species, all species, they are occurring in different levels. So we need to learn about that first. So ecosystem, normally in last chapter we have learned all these things. So normally it is made up of two components, that is abiotic component and biotic. So there are two components for the ecosystem, that is abiotic and biotic component. Abiotic component or abiotic components means the non-living factors or the physical environmental factors which is present in the ecosystem, that constitutes the abiotic components. So there are mainly three types. Which one? Abiotic components, they are mainly of three types. Climatic factors, then edaphic factors, then topographic factors. And this we have already studied in the previous chapter, right? So here, just the main points I'll explain how it is affecting. So climatic factors, when we are saying about the climatic factors, that means the climatic factor include light, humidity, air current, then water, temperature, all these are coming under climatic factors. The climatic factors means temperature, water, light, wind, air current, humidity, all these are coming under temperature factors. Then second one, another abiotic component, that is edaphic factors. Edaphic factors means the factors which are related to the structure and composition of soil. That means the chemical and physical properties of soil. So edaphic factors means It is related to the structure and composition of soil. That means the physical and chemical properties. Next is topographic factors. Topographic factors, they are the factors which are related to physical features of Earth. Physical features of Earth. The features or the factors which are related to the physical features of Earth. Like that slope, then plain, then mountain, valley, all these are. These are the physical features of Earth. So related to this, the factors which are related to the physical features of Earth, it is called as topographic factors. So all these are coming under the abiotic components, which is the component of ecosystem. Okay. So among abiotic and biotic component of ecosystem, about abiotic components we are explaining now. Which are all the abiotic components? Climatic factors, edaphic factors, and topographic factors. These are the three factors which are coming under abiotic components. So next, these and all we have already explained in the last chapter. That's why only point wise I'm giving you. So biotic components. Next, about biotic components. See, all living organisms like plants, animals, microorganisms, all these are present in the environment, and these are constituting the biotic components of the ecosystem. All animals, plants, microorganisms, all these together, it is called as biotic component of ecosystem. See, each one will be having, plants will be having their own role, animals will be having another role, then microorganisms will be having their specific role. So on the basis of these specific roles of each component in the ecosystem, these components are classified into three main groups. See, plants will be having their type of which role they can manage. This component, which role they can manage, based on their role, they will perform in the ecosystem. So based on that, it is classified. All these are classified into three main groups. Okay, producers, consumers, then decomposers. So these plants, animals, and microorganisms, they are divided into different groups, or they have classified into three main groups. That means they have classified into producers, consumers, and decomposers. So let's see what is producers, or what do you mean by producers? Producer means the photosynthetic plant, the green photosynthetic plant, and how they will produce? They will entrap the solar energy, and with the help of chlorophyll, they will synthesize. They'll synthesize the organic food material from inorganic material. From the inorganic raw material, they will synthesize organic food material with the help of pigment chlorophyll. Okay, and such synthesizing plants, they are called as autotrophs. Autotrophs are the plants which are synthesizing their own food. So in the terrestrial ecosystem, main producers or major producers, they are woody plants, herbaceous and woody plants. These are the main producers in terrestrial ecosystem. Major producers are herbaceous and woody plants. Then in aquatic ecosystem, same thing. In the case of aquatic ecosystem, phytoplanktons. Phytoplanktons, they are the chief producers. The chief producers are phytoplanktons, then algae, floating, then submerged and marginal plants which are found at the edges. So in aquatic system, in the case of aquatic system, how we can say chief producers are the phytoplanktons, algae and the floating, submerged and marginal plants which are found at the edges. Then these producers otherwise or they are also called as converters. Producers are also called as converters or transducers. Why it is called so? Because they convert solar energy into chemical energy which is stored in the bonds of sugars. Got it? They are converting solar energy into chemical energy which is stored in the sugar bonding. Got it? Then next comes the consumers. Consumers. Consumers means, how we can explain, the animals which cannot synthesize or which are not capable of synthesizing the food material. They are called as consumers. And how they will produce or how they will fulfill this, or they will be depending upon these producers. They'll be depending directly or they'll be depending indirectly. For what? For their survival. And they are called as heterotrophs. Okay. So consumers means they're consuming because they're not able to synthesize. They are able to consume only. So they are the animals which are not capable of synthesizing their own food material and they are depending on producers, and this dependency will be direct or indirect for their survival. So they can call this heterotrophs. They are called as heterotrophs. Then there are different types of consumers. We said consumers means the animals which are not capable of synthesizing the food material. Okay. So consumers are of different types. Which are they? Primary consumers or first order consumers. Primary consumers are first order consumers. What do you mean by that? Primary consumers. First, primarily they are utilizing. That means these are the type of animals which are directly feeding on producers. So they are also called herbivores or they are also called as key industry animals. In primary consumers, we can see that there is a terrestrial ecosystem and aquatic ecosystem. Terrestrial ecosystem and aquatic ecosystem. Terrestrial ecosystem means in terrestrial ecosystem, you can see cow, deer, then grasshopper and all. In aquatic ecosystem, tadpole, mosquito larvae, then herbivores, all these are common in terrestrial ecosystem. Then another ecosystem is aquatic ecosystem. This is common herbivores and mollusk, tadpole, then mosquito larvae. All are present in that aquatic system. Then another thing what we can explain is secondary consumers, SC, or second order consumers, or primary carnivores. So here, in the case of secondary consumers or second order consumers, we can see that in their case, these are the animals. Which one? The secondary consumers. They are the animals and these can feed on this kind of herbivores. Got it? Then tertiary consumers. In tertiary consumers or TC or third order consumer or secondary carnivores. So in this case, we can say that it is carnivores which feed upon secondary consumers like aquatic system, then terrestrial ecosystem. So in a secondary ecosystem, that is otherwise called as second order consumer or primary carnivores. So these are the animals which feed on herbivores. So terrestrial ecosystem means toad, spiders, lizards, and some kind of insectivorous birds and all. We can call them as terrestrial ecosystem. Then tertiary consumers. There is another concept called tertiary consumers. Tertiary consumers are otherwise called as third order consumers or secondary carnivores. So in this, you can see that large fishes, then snake, all these things we can see in tertiary consumers. Then top carnivores. These are all GK points generally asked questions. So top carnivores. What do you mean by top carnivores? The carnivores which are not eaten by others. That is called as top carnivores. So that may be belonging to secondary or primary or tertiary carnivores. Like panther, then lion, tiger, everything you can see under this. So next, in the case of decomposers, you can say that decomposers, what we can say, they are the saprophytic microorganism. And how they'll derive their food material? They'll derive their food material from organic matter. And where this organic matter will be? It is present in the dead plants or animals. Okay. And this they will secrete a kind of digestive enzyme, and this digestive enzyme will convert the complex organic substance into simpler ones. So what will happen then? This part of this digestic or digested organic matter that will be assimilated by the microorganism, and the remaining what it will do, remaining will break down into very small piece or some type of inorganic compounds for recycling. So what they will do, they'll bring the cyclic exchange of this material from or material between the biotic community and the environment. So this decomposes. How we can explain? This decomposes are bacteria, fungi, then different types of flagellates are there. And these are all present at the bottom of the pond also. So here, in decomposition, what and all you can see in decomposition, the complex organic substances, it will go or it will form simple organic substances, then inorganic, then it is forming inorganic compounds. So in the case of ecosystem, what are all the function of decomposers? What do you think? What is the what are all the function of decomposers in this ecosystem? So you can see that these scavengers, what they will do, that organic remains of or the organic remains, what they will do, they'll reduce that organic remains because they are decomposing continuously, they are decomposing. Then naturality that they will, because of them, will be able to remain that soil naturality. With what? With minerals and all. They will be adding minerals and all. And this is the important factor or essential. It is very essential for the growth of plants and for the maintenance of ecosystem. So here you can see that some categories, like some living beings, among the biotic components of the ecosystem, they are making several categories. It is called as scavengers, then parasites and detritivores. So these are the categories. So parasites, you know that it is a large like we can see some kind of worms, protozoans, then bacteria, fungi, everything we can see. So ecosystem components, they are mainly two types, biotic and abiotic. In biotic, you can see producers, consumers, decomposers. In the case of abiotic, climatic factors, then topographic factors, climatic factors, topographic factors, and edaphic factors. In the case of abiotic factors. Okay. So among these, the consumers are of different types. Primary, secondary, tertiary, and top. So there are 4 categories. Then next we are going to learn about ecosystem structure of ecosystem. So here ecosystem, that means the biotic and abiotic component interaction, that will result in the physical structure, and that is the main characteristics of each type of ecosystem. What? The physical structure. Then important structural features. Which are all the important structural features? Species composition. Species composition. That means the identification. What is species composition? The identification and enumeration of plant and animal species of an ecosystem. That is called as species composition. And with diverse number of biological species, or there are different biological species in which one? In tropical rainforest. The next point is stratification. Here, each point, these terms will be asked. So stratification means a different level, different species will be occurring. So that vertical distribution, that is called as vertical distribution. Then in that vertical distribution, there will be different divisions. So top layer will be having different kinds of trees. Then second layer is shrubs. Then in third layer or the bottom layer, what you can see? The grasses and herbs. In the bottom layer, we can see grass and herbs. So here we can see that this ecosystem, it is having a tendency to persist like that. It is having a natural tendency to persist in the same way. So by different functions or different or variety of functions or variety of activities which is taking place in that, based on that, this ecosystem is managed based on the variety of functions. Here, for that persistence, because I said it is having a tendency to persist. So how we can manage that, or how we can ensure that persistence? Means the ecosystem, it is functioning as a unit. So that can exist. Then different steps, the key functional steps or aspects of ecosystem that we know: productivity, then decomposition, then energy flow, nutrient cycling. Productivity, decomposition, energy flow and nutrient cycling. These are the aspects. These are the main aspects. So here, that aquatic ecosystem, just with an example, aquatic ecosystem, that is the example for the aquatic ecosystem. So in this, we can explain the interaction of different components. So you know that aquatic ecosystem, we are considering a small pond. So this pond, in this pond, we are going to explain the four components. Which are the four components? Productivity, decomposition, energy flow and nutrient cycling. Okay. So here the abiotic components. The abiotic component, water. So in this pond, the abiotic component, that is the water. In water, water will be dissolved. In this, all inorganic and the organic substances will be dissolved. So at the bottom of the soil, we can see soil support also, right? There is a rich soil deposit at the bottom of the pond. So when the solar input is taking place, that the temperature cycle, then the day length and the climatic components, climatic conditions, which is regulating the rate of the function of that entire pond. Then the autotrophic components. Autotrophic components, which are all the autotrophic components? That means the phytoplanktons, algae, and floating. Floating and the submerged marginal plants, which are present at the edges. Okay. Then the consumers. Consumers are mentioned by, or it is represented by zooplankton. And free swimming and bottom dwelling forms are present, the zooplanktons. Then the decomposers. In this small pond, decomposers, they are fungi, bacteria, then flagellates. Especially at the bottom of the pond, we can see this decomposers. So this system, this pond ecosystem, that performs all the functions of an ecosystem. So what it will do? It is converting the inorganic matter to organic material, and that helps the radiant energy of sun. It is converting the radiant energy of sun So we said decomposers, fungi, they are the decomposers, right? then bacteria and flagellates, mainly which are present at the bottom of the pond. So altogether, this system, this pond aquatic ecosystem, this pond aquatic ecosystem that is performing all the functions of any ecosystem. How one ecosystem is working in the one biosphere as a whole, like that this aquatic ecosystem is also performing. That means that is converting the organic into inorganic into organic material with the help of which energy? Radiant energy of the sun by the autotrophs. Then consumption of autotrophs by the heterotrophs. Then after that, decomposition and mineralization of the dead matter. For what? To release them back for reuse by the autotrophs. So what is happening? This consumption of autotrophs by the heterotrophs. Then decomposition and mineralization of the dead matter. For what? To release them back to the reusable forms, or that can be reused by the autotrophs. So this, the same process, it is getting repeated over and over, or again and again it is getting repeated. So there is a unidirectional movement of energy towards the higher trophic level, and we can say that there is a unidirectional movement of energy towards the higher trophic level. Okay, so in today's class, what and all we have learned? The components of ecosystem that will become functional only when productivity, decomposition, energy flow, and nutrient cycling, all these are working together in a well-mannered way. Then we can say that the components of ecosystem are working in a proper way, right? So with the help of a small pond ecosystem, we have explained how energy is flowing in an ecosystem, or the role of abiotic and biotic components of an ecosystem. So in this, we need to learn about this productivity, decomposition, energy flow, everything in detail. So that we will learn in the next class, like how ecosystem it is persisting in a balanced way, or how it is making all components functional, or how it is performing this with the help of the structural components. So these components of ecosystem, they are seen to functional as a unit. All these components are working as a functional unit, and that's how the ecosystem is persisting, or it is existing. So the main functional aspects are productivity, decomposition, nutrient cycling, energy flow. So in this, among this, all these four we have to learn in detail how it is affecting the ecosystem and the energy flow of ecosystem. So this we have to learn in detail. So hope as an introduction of this chapter, after this everything is clear. These are all like simple points we have learned all this in previous chapters and all. But hereafter, the functioning of an ecosystem we have to learn in detail in this chapter. So that we will explain point by point or topic wise in the next class. So just go through these portions. If you have any doubt, you can ask me in the next class. Thank you.